We turn now to United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain. Good morning to you, sir. You have said that you had reasonably productive conversations with Ford yesterday. Does that mean they're going to put a more generous offer on the table?
Good morning. Thanks for having us. And, that's up to them. The reason we're in this situation right now is because all three of the big three companies chose to wait. They chose not to negotiate for the 8 weeks we had. We started this back in July, and we told them then, don't wait till the last minute or you're going to find yourself in a bad position. And unfortunately, they chose to wait till the last week to get down and start talking to get serious about this. And that's where we are now. And if we don't get better offers and we don't get down and take care of the members' needs, then we're going to amp this thing up even more.
Well, you said progress is slow. Will you order strikes at additional plants this week? Are you preparing for that?
We're prepared to do whatever we have to do. So the membership is ready. The membership is fed up. We're fed up with falling behind. It's been decades of falling behind. And especially this past decade, in the most wealthiest times in the history of these companies. There is no excuse. These companies have made $250 billion in the last 10 years, $21 billion in the last 6 months alone. And our workers' wages and conditions have went backwards.
You're asking for 36% pay raises, our reporter just laid out there. Stellantis said they've offered 21%. What are you expecting out of tomorrow's negotiation with them? That seems forward movement.
We've asked for 40% pay increases, and the reason we asked for 40% pay increases is because in the last 4 years alone, the CEO pay went up 40%. They're already millionaires. Right. It's shameful that one of the leaders of one of the corporations sitting in his second home in Acapulco while we're bargaining, rather than being at the bargaining table. And so, our demands are just. We're asking for our fair share in this economy and the fruits of our labor. So
21% is a no-go for you.
It's definitely a no-go, and we've made that very clear to the companies.
Ford's CEO said last November that electric vehicles are going to require 40% less labor to produce than combustion vehicles. I know it may not be the intention, but I wonder how you think this transition to electric vehicles may be eating away at your union strength.
Well, I don't believe it's eating away at our union strength. It is the way it is right now. Unfortunately, this is what's wrong with our economy, and this is what's wrong with America right now. The billionaire class keeps taking more and more, and the working class keeps getting left behind. And the unfortunate part in this transition right now, like always, go back to the Great Recession. The banks got bailed out by our taxpayer dollars, and they just kept on doing what they do, while working class people's homes got foreclosed on.
Automakers got bailed out too.
Go back to the, yes, automakers got bailed out.
Taxpayers lost money on that.
The workers were unfairly, the workers were unfairly blamed for everything that was wrong with those companies. It was bad decisions on the parts of the companies that put us in that position. And the sad reality is, the workers paid the price for that. We made all the sacrifices, and after a decade of massive profits,
yep,
the workers have went backwards. Our wages have went backwards. Our benefits have went backwards. The majority of our members have zero retirement security now. And meanwhile, it's insulting that a CEO gets on air in the last few days and says that her $29 million salary is justified by her performance. No, it's not. It's justified by the performance of the worker on the backs of the workers, and by paying them poverty wages. And that's unacceptable in this country.
Well, I know. You've also said, though, it's a shell game to talk about, CEOs handing back part of their money. You're talking about something that's more fundamental to the structure of this entire sector of the economy. And that's why I'm asking you about the transition, because many of the factories in this country that make batteries for those electric vehicles are not unionized. And that is where the White House is pushing the industry to go, more towards those electric vehicles. Isn't that part of this challenge for you, leverage-wise?
So the challenge is, where we're going to go as a country. Again, I get back to this point. Our tax dollars are financing a massive portion of this transition to EV. We believe in a green economy. We have to have clean water. We have to have clean air. Anyone that doesn't believe global warming is happening isn't paying attention.
Mhm.
But this transition has to be a just transition. And a just transition means if our tax dollars are going to finance this transition, then labor can't be left behind. And as it stands right now, the workers are being left behind. The companies want to talk about being competitive.
Yeah.
It's not about being competitive. Competitive is a code word for race to the bottom. What they want is they want to pay us poverty wages so they can keep on making billions more in profits, and they can keep enriching the shareholders and the CEOs and the corporate executives while the workers pay the price for it
Well,
and get left behind. That's
Ford-
got to stop in this country.
Ford has said that your demands would more than double the labor costs, which are already significantly higher than the labor costs at Tesla.
Doesn't seem like we're nearing a deal at this point. Look, it is day two. We are hearing a lot of energy from these folks chanting, cheering. I actually want to bring in Derek here. Derek is, you are the strike captain. Is that right for this group?
That is correct.
Of all the factories, plants across the country that have been selected for this initial tactical strike, you guys were one of them. What was your reaction when you heard that news?
I felt that Mr. Fain did a good job hitting them with their moneymaker here. The Wrangler is one of the highest profitable vehicles in the company, and he's showing them that he's serious.
You're talking about the Jeeps that are made here,
Right.
about 1,000 a day. They are back at the bargaining table today, your leadership, along with the automakers. We have heard strong words from both sides. What's your message for the union leadership today as they head back to the bargaining table, speaking for so many of the members here?
We stand behind you guys. We like the demands the union has, and we are out here supporting, and we feel that that's what we deserve.
And what is the frustration, you think, after months of negotiation, it's led to this? What are the biggest points of frustration, do you think, that members are feeling right now that led to this moment in this strike?
Our pay has not kept up with inflation, and our temps are being abused here. We have temps that have been here 6 years with no benefit. They no guarantee time to full time. Our pay is not on par with the price of everything else going up in the country. So,
and we heard the CEO of Ford say if they gave in to all of the union's demands, it would bankrupt the company. What do you make of that?
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
So I feel they've showed record profits, and we deserve a record contract. That's our stance.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and
Thank
good
you.
luck. So as you can hear, guys, day two, it'll be interesting to see if any progress is made up in Michigan at that bargaining table between the union and the automakers. But for now, look, so many of these workers have told me that they prepared for this. They were told months, even years ago, that a strike could be coming at some point. They should be saving their money. Not easy to do if you are living paycheck to paycheck, as some people have told me they are, but still, they knew a strike could be coming, and so many have said they are ready to do this for as long as it takes. Victor, Amara?
Oh, let's hope it doesn't take too long. Gabe Cohen, appreciate your reporting. Thank you. Let's go now to CNN White House reporter Kevin Liptak. Kevin, we heard from President Biden yesterday, just hours after the thousands of workers walked out. It sounded like President Biden, he stopped just short of endorsing the strike, but he did seem to show his support for those workers.
Yeah, very forcefully coming out on the side of the unions. And that was notable because as these talks have proceeded over the last several months, President Biden and the White House have avoided taking an explicit side in all of this, really hoping that the auto workers and the automakers could come to some sort of agreement. But that all changed in the Roosevelt Room yesterday. The president coming out and saying that record profits for these automakers must translate into record contracts for the workers who he has said had seen their wages eroded over the past several years, as well as their benefits. Now listen to a little bit more of what the president had to say.
No one wants a strike. Say it again. No one wants a strike. But I respect workers' right to use their options under the collective bargaining system. They've been around the clock and the companies have made some significant offers. But I believe they should go further to ensure record corporate profits mean record contracts for the UAW.
Now, this strike is really coming at the intersection of so many important priorities for President Biden, really striking at the heart of his political identity. Of course, he's referred to himself as the most pro-union president in history, and a key part of his economic agenda is boosting wages for the middle class. But at the same time, he has the imperative of maintaining a strong economy, and certainly this strike, if it goes on for a while, could have serious effects nationwide. You also see the president's push to transition to electric vehicles really coming into play here. One of the key sticking points for the auto workers is ensuring
Tesla, at Toyota, and other foreign-owned automakers who don't use union labor. So how do you make the case that these automakers need to keep investing in more expensive union shops rather than move to these right-to-work states?
First off, labor costs are about 5% of the cost of the vehicle. They could double our wages and not raise the price of the vehicles and still make billions in profits. It's a choice. And the fact that they want to compare it to how pitiful Tesla pays their workers and other companies pay their workers, that's what this whole argument's about. Workers in this country got to decide if they want a better life for themselves instead of scraping to get by paycheck to paycheck while everybody else walks away with the loot.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we bargain good contracts, going back to the founding of this union, people join the UAW because we set the standard. People join unions because it's a better way of life. And that's what we got to do. We have to bargain a good contract, and then we're going to go organize these places and bring these workers in so they get their fair share of the economy that they get nothing of right now. Most of these workers in those companies are scraping to get by so that greedy CEOs and greedy people like Elon Musk can build more rocket ships and shoot themselves in outer space. And that's unacceptable.
President.
Welcome to another episode, or I don't know if it's another episode, but welcome to RBN Live. I think I'm going to go with straight out of politics for today because there's a lot of political stuff. So welcome to Straight Out of Politics. I'm your host for today, CJ. That stands for Compton J. I'm Jay or James in real life. Got a lot of stories to cover. When JB was feeling a little under the weather, I saw this opening. I'm like, I like for our community to have at least one live stream a day. And we're pretty consistent with that because Sundays is JB, Mondays, Nick and CJ, Tuesdays, RBN Live, Wednesdays, Nick at night, and then Straight Out of the Politics in the daytime. Thursday is Sabby Sab and JB show. Friday is the Sabby show. Saturday is usually open. That's our free for all. Like anybody can come in on Saturday or nobody. So we like to have it at least 6 days a week. We want to have lives, but these stories that are coming out, there's too many for us to cover during the week. So I'm trying to get through a lot. And like I said, there's a ton of stories to get to. So let's read through those stories now. Let's go through the ones on the graphic first. Oh, hold on a second here. I have to bring up my other back. Okay, here we go. So middle of the screen, main story, probably cover it as the third or fourth segment today. And that is the Cornell West, the Russell Brand, I guess you can call it Cornell West Russell Brand story. Because the news of Russell Brand, the allegations against Russell Brand, which could be an establishment smear, and I should say it's likely an establishment smear, but we need to all be cautious and listen to information before we just jump to conclusions and decide. So I like to keep it that way, for me at least. But if we all remember, Cornell West launched on Russell Brand's network. So if you don't think that Dr. Cornell West already has a target and they're going to connect him, his opening to Russell Brand, you haven't been paying attention to the ruling class for very long. On the right, you see Brian Stelter, and Brian Stelter, believe it or not, was on CNN and saying that mainstream media must be louder than the liars. The liars are saying they must be louder than somebody else. I can't believe it. But that's Brian Stelter's segment. And then, of course, we're going to do the UAW update. That's the first story up. And a lot of working parts with that story. And then briefly, I just want to have a small discussion. It's a very short segment of just, I'm seeing a lot of people who threw, and it happened to be the boutique left and NATO left, who threw Tara Reade under the bus regarding her allegations against Joe Biden, but they're all aboard. These allegations against Russell Brand, it just clearly shows their bias. Be the same in the rain and the dark and the hail and the sleet and the snow. Be the same. And I like to apply it. Sometimes it gets me in trouble. Sometimes it gives people, it ruffles a little feathers. Like I've ruffled a little feathers about my critique of the Cornell West campaign, but I'm going to be the same. I had a critique of the Cornell West campaign. Of the Marianne Williamson campaign for bringing on Peter Dow. So I'm being intellectually consistent. That's what I'm doing. But anyway, the other stories, Matt Gaetz goes after Kevin McCarthy. I hope we get to that. That might be one of the stories we may not get to. But Matt Gaetz goes after Kevin McCarthy. They're having some fighting over there. Just wondering if I could substitute Matt Gaetz goes after Kevin McCarthy with AOC goes after Nancy Pelosi. That's what we really should be saying. Bernie Sanders goes to the UAW rally. Maybe I'll roll that into the UAW update. The Freedom Caucus makes the squad look like cowards. And we're just going to analyze, and it's kind of a spinoff from the Matt Gaetz goes after Kevin McCarthy. We're seeing the Freedom Caucus apply severe pressure that if the squad was doing it, they would be technically doing it for good things. So imagine if they had, I should say some of this for the segment, imagine if they had implemented or forced Nancy Pelosi to agree to the term of one member can call for your vote to be ousted. The pressure they could put on her. One member. Just saying, you could use that for good, and that is the critique. So we'll get to that story. Let me see if there's, and then we have Sean Penn with his just insane unhinged war propaganda. Only cowards fear World War III. That's a quote from Sean Penn. That is actual quote, and we're going to play the video to show you. And I think I just covered all the stories that I'm going to be touching upon today. I'm trying to do this quickly while my girls are out at volleyball practice. My wife and youngest daughter taking my middle daughter to volleyball practice. So wanted to take this time to squeeze these stories in. So, and I see everybody in the chat. What's up, everybody? Already have a super chat. Let's read it. Can't allow liberals to lead workers into a fight where all rules framing are dictated by capitalist maintain revolutionary discipline, fam. And I like this comment. Thank you for the super chat, Sean. I like this comment because I like this guy, Sean Fain. Now, there is some critique of him, of the strategy of the stand-up strategy where they're rolling out. But if you're thinking strategically, and I reported this in the segment when I did cover this, when one of the UAW rank and file, who also ran as the president, is calling him out as a sellout for this strategy. And it comes to find out, I mean, if you take some of what that guy says and what's going on, it makes sense strategically, I guess, if they're low in funds, meaning the funds to pay when you're on strike, I think it's $500 a week. That's a dip in what they're making. So having some people work, even though I'm trying to make sense and not be negative about it. That's what I'm trying to do, and just gleam a little hope without going too far into hopium. I don't want to go that far, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to look at the bright side, trying to look at this positively. But let's go back. Let's jump into this first segment here. We're at 300 people watching. Let's see if we can get to 300 likes. Everybody hit that like button. So let's go UAW update. And loving this interview with Sean Fain. This is on Face the Nation, I believe, this morning. And it's such a clearly, I don't know if you guys can sense the tension that the host must try to appear like she's not going after workers with questions that she wants to get out there by trying to switch the narrative, switch some narrative blaming, because right now 75% said they're with the workers. They're trying to shift some of the narrative blaming away from the owners, and you can see it in all these interviews they have with them. You can see it, and Sean's not playing the game, which I love him. Now, he's like on a level of radical speech, he's like at an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. So I can't complain. Of course, I would probably take it to a 10 and start using some Marxist quote without using the name Marx, maybe. Like seizing the means of production, that type of thing. So I would say it. So mine would be a notch but I'll take an 8. I'll take an 8. So let's listen a little more. I want to rewind it back just to this last question he was answering, because it's telling. Let's listen. I think this is it right here.
Don't use union labor. So how do you make?
Okay, yeah, this is the owner class saying, don't you care about our finances argument? If I was Sean, I don't give a fuck what's going on with you. That's your business. All I know is that you make that profit. Pay me. Pay this money. Oh, you got this expense. Oh, that's fine. Talk to your shareholders about that. Otherwise, pay me my money for my labor. I don't give a fuck about what your calculation is to get your profit. Pay me my money. That's how I would be. But anyway, I'm not complaining necessarily about Sean's response, but I'm just saying I would be taking it to that place. Let's listen.
Left behind. That's got to stop in this country.
Ford has said that your demands would more than double the labor costs, which are already significantly higher than the labor costs at Tesla, at Toyota, and other.
How is this not an owner argument? That me, the owner, my cost of labor is higher than my competitors. How the fuck is that any of our business as a worker? How is that any of our business? That's none of our business, and that has nothing to do with the calculation of what you're going to pay me, sir, or ma'am, or person. It has nothing to do with the calculation of what I am owed. You're telling me this is too much information. It's too much information for the negotiation of my payment. Let's listen.
They're foreign-owned automakers who don't use union labor. So how do you make the case that these automakers need to keep investing in more expensive union shops rather than move to these right-to-work states?
First off, labor costs are about 5% of the cost of the vehicle. They could double our wages and not raise the price of the vehicles and still make billions in profits. It's a choice.
You see that part there? That's the part where if maybe CNBC might be the only place where that if this response would get kind of attacked a little bit more aggressively, but they don't like hearing that. Because the billionaires complaining, I'm losing money. Stop lying. You literally could double their wages, double, without raising the cost of the car, and you still making billions. Other union leaders, I would have to say, wouldn't go as far as this, or this is the first time I'm hearing a union leader go this far, at least in their rhetoric. I'm not saying it matches the plan, but at least in the rhetoric, willing to say stuff like this on corporate media. Let's continue.
And the fact that they want to compare it to how pitiful Tesla pays their workers and other companies pay their workers, that's what this whole argument's about. Workers in this country got to decide if they want a better life for themselves instead of scraping to get by paycheck to paycheck while everybody else walks away with the loot. Yeah. And, you know, when we bargain good contracts, going back to the
you hear her? She wanted us to cut in. She recognizes a speech, because this sounds a little bit, at least maybe not rehearsed, but it's kind of rehearsed if he's been going on several interviews and he's saying a lot of the same, getting asked a lot of the same questions. So, you know, it's almost like now he has it down. She wanted to slide in there because she knows he's about to go on a speech that, like, the owner's position is so not the position. This is why they never want to get to a strike. Because when you have to talk about these things in this setting where they're actually on a strike and trying to get them back to work, the dynamics of the negotiating always is going to favor the worker. The way we look at it is going to be, wait a minute, you mean you could double what you pay them? And you, without raising the cost of the car, and you still make billions? Why are we here, Ford? Why are we here, Stellantis? You get what I'm saying? It's a dynamic that's not win for them. It's hard for them to argue, like as you see in this segment here. And let's continue with Sean Thing.
Founding this union, people join the UAW because we set the standard. People join unions because it's a better way of life, and that's what we got to do. We have to bargain a good contract. And then we're going to go organize these places and bring these workers in so they get their fair share of the economy that they get nothing of right now. Most of these workers in those companies are scraping to get by so that greedy CEOs and greedy people like Elon Musk can build more rocket ships and shoot themselves in outer space. And that's unacceptable.
President Biden says he's the most pro-union president in American history.
Why do you have to? Why are we framing it this way? Why do we keep, and this thing's in all the interviews, I've covered UAW updates. This, I think, is the third time, my third segment I'm doing. Why is this in every segment they have this question here where we have to pull Joe Biden? Has Joe Biden come out and said he's for us? So why are we going to say we for Joe Biden? Let's listen. I hope, because I didn't take it this far. I got it to the part where I stopped it for the intro. So let's listen to what this answer is. I'm curious. I hope he takes it, gets a nice kidney shot. Take it to the body, Sean.
You haven't endorsed him. What is it going to take for you to do that?
Our endorsements are going to be earned. We've been very clear about that, no matter what politician
How
it is.
does he earn it?
We expect action. We expect action, not words. And you know, this fight we're in right now, I mean, obviously, people are talking about them trying to interject themselves into our negotiations. You know, this negotiating, our negotiators are fighting hard. Our leadership's fighting hard. It's going to be one at the negotiating table with our negotiating teams, with our members manning the picket lines and our allies out there. Who the president is now, who the former president was, or the presidents before them isn't going to win this fight. This fight is all about one thing. It's about work.
They didn't like that. Oh, it doesn't matter who the president is essentially what he's saying here. Now, it's not as radical as I would say, But this is a pretty decent answer to the question to say, it doesn't matter. You guys doesn't really fight for us. It's not going to do anything for whether we win our contract or not, who's president. So the answer is pretty decent.
Workers winning their fair share of economic justice instead of being left behind as they have been in the last decade.
Yeah, it's a no-win situation for them. Let me see what other receipts I have for this segment here. Did I click Twitter? Oh, there it goes. Oops, maybe I didn't. Let's go to Twitter and see what do I have in my bookmarks. I might have one or two other items to include for this before I move on to the next part. And maybe since I'm already here on UAW, I can maybe just go to the Bernie's part and talk about Bernie. I do want to include these clips. So yeah, I'm happy I came here. Now let's listen to a couple of clips from UAW workers and members. Let's listen to this one. It's put out by the Party for Socialism and Liberation, otherwise known as PSL. Let's listen, and then they're on the ground on the picket, one of the picket lines, and then they have some interviews with a couple of workers we're going to listen to also. So let's listen to this guy. I love what he says here. This was right before the strike started. This is the position or the stance.
The working class, the middle class, the blue collar people of the United States who built the damn United States. Fed up. We're making you $66 million a day profit in Stellantis. Come on. We don't have sweatshops anymore. Not supposed to have. I don't want to strike, but we will. And it's that simple. It's our time. Tonight, if it comes to that, this place will be like a beehive. And the reason why is to support the brother standing next to him or the brother that's out here on the picket line. That's what it's all about. That is absolutely what it's all about. But it's that movement that was strong back in the 30s, in the 60s. It's moving again. Be aware, whether it's the UAW red shirts or whether it's the Teamsters, we're coming. It's coming. The working class, the middle class,
love it.
The blue collar people.
I won't bore you guys and listen to it again. I can listen to that over and over. Let's get to some of the other interviews here. Let's go to this one first because the other one I think is a two-parter. So let's not split it up. Let's listen to this one.
We get a raise of every other year, 45 cents. 45 cents. Him, me, him, Oscar. That's our raise. 45 cents every other year. Not every year. Oscar. Every other year.
The retired 45-cent raise every other year. That's insane. As you're making billions, what is the issue? Why don't these companies, why are they just stacking money that can be used for people to have better lives? What's happening here? How do you break through this sort of understanding of the world and how people should be treated? Can this part of capitalism be fixed? For those that think we should keep capitalism and just, fix it on the edges. But anyway, I don't want to sidetrack the conversation. Back to the UAW update, and here's the rest of the video.
Retirees out here could barely pay for their prescriptions. After they just gave 30 years, 40 years of their life, they can barely put food on the table. You got people working in these plants that can't even buy the trucks and the cars that they build.
1, 2, 3, 4, we don't take it anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, we don't take it anymore.
We've had a 6% raise over the last 4 years. The high wigs or big wigs or whatever you want to call them, they've gained 40%, which is crazy.
The way the system is built right now, it's not built for the middle class and the lower people to win. It's not, and if we don't do it right now, your kids gonna be in trouble.
This is why they're building.
We get a raise of
facilities like Cop City. Do people understand? So let's make the connection. This is the reason places like Cop City are being built. This is the first video, so let me go to this one first. This is the reason. people are not that you think these owners, these capitalists don't understand people are not going to sit back while they run off with all the money and we're barely making it? They know this. This is the reason why they have to prepare, and they got fear. They got a fear put in them during the George Floyd protest because they saw, wow, this shit could really get out of control, and we're not prepared. So let's go ahead and try to, get these facilities built for urban warfare. That's literally what these are, what Cop City is going to be for. But let's. I'm trying to find my tab here. Where am I at? This one. Okay. I like having my TV on now because I can just look and see, okay, what does everything look like? All right, let's listen to this one here. Other workers being interviewed. Let's listen.
While they're all prepping and doing all the work over here, the strike took over here. And I think it took them all by surprise, which was Sean Fain's intent.
For the last month, the company's been trying to build up the bank and thinking that the parts plants would strike. They were trying to take all those parts in the bank and get them to the assembly plants.
Correct.
And it was the assembly plant that struck.
Correct.
And so now they're just stuck with
now
all
they're
these
stuck
parts.
with this inventory.
Wow.
Trucks lined out down 50 last night trying to get into the engine plant and the transmission plant, trying to get the inventory out before midnight. That'd be a great expense. Every one of those trucks was an expedite. So what, $300 or $400 minimum expedite? And if they called it in at the last minute, could have been $1,000.
Who knows what the next plant will be to walk out? It could be a Ram plant. It could be an engine plant. You just don't know.
Mm-hmm. Knowing that they were shipping all these parts, trying to take them to Toledo, and then you hear it at 9:53 or 10 p.m. they're striking Toledo. How are y'all feeling?
I laughed. I mean, I was like, oh, it's not us. But then I thought, haha, you guessed wrong, Stellantis. I thought they deserved every bit of it.
Wow. That's a cool story. That is a fantastic story. So if you didn't catch or you couldn't hear it well, Stellantis thought one other plant was going to be striking. So they were, expediting all their parts or moving all their parts to another plant. So them to kind of take over some of the load of this plant that they thought was going to strike. End up the place they sent these things to, Toledo, it was the plant that went on strike. So that's lovely. Love to hear that. I think there's another part to this. Yeah, there's another part to this clip or just to this interaction with this group. And let me go to that one. That's this one right here. Let's listen. And shout out to PSL for the clip.
Comment today on the national news about the strike hurting the.
It felt like it was started already. Let me rewind it all the way back. Let's go.
Mary Barra made a comment today on the national news about the strike hurting the local community.
This will not be good for the economy overall, and again for all the communities that are impacted.
What about the 65 plants they've closed in the last 25 years?
Yeah.
Drive over to Anderson, where they pulled out Delco Remy, which was GM. What about the empty parking lot you see across from the Kokomo transmission plant that used to be overflowing with cars where people worked there? What about Lordstown, Ohio? What about all these Janesville, Wisconsin? What about our own plant in Belvedere? I was up in the area and drove by the plant. I'm like, oh, that's Belvedere. And here's this giant plant that made the Jeep Cherokee, and it is just empty. And it's just gut-wrenching to think of the lives that they destroyed. We can put new product in there. So she doesn't need to preach to us, the working class, about what a strike might impact our community when they've decimated communities.
It's all come down to greed, because for 5 to 8% of the vehicle, they could have kept building vehicles in St. Louis. They could have kept building vehicles in Delaware, where they used to build Durangos. They've had all these plants throughout the country that they've just demolished them and closed them down, and it's just due to greed.
So it is satisfying to finally see one of these so-called possible strikes come into fruition and actually striking and not being co-opted. So I do love this. Now we have to be reminded by this slime ball right here. This is General Motors CEO, and let's be reminded of this interview. I never covered this interview, but I know everybody has seen it, so let's play it.
The union is demanding, asking for a 40% wage increase over 4 years. They're asking for that in part because they say CEOs like yourself, leading the big three, are making those kind of pay increases over the course of the last 4 years. You've seen a 34% pay increase in your salary. You make almost $30 million. Why should your workers not get the same type of pay increases that you're getting leading the company?
Well, if you look at compensation, my compensation, 92% of it is based on performance of the company. I think
based on the performance of the company. Does she really believe that her performance is disconnected from the workers' performance output? Like, does she really believe that? Is this really the mindset? They really believe that her big brain is better than what the workers are doing. It's just mind-boggling that she doesn't understand. How do you measure your performance? Is it the sales? And how do you get sales? By selling cars? Who assembles these cars? Where do you get what I'm saying? Like, how do you not see that? How do you not see that if you're doing good, that means the employees are doing good? I don't get it, but let's listen to this and let's go to the next story. It's really bizarre. It feels like, looking at her face, it feels like she believes that. It feels like I'm just selling you some bullshit. It feels like she believes what she's saying.
one of the strong aspects of the way our compensation for our represented employees is designed is not only are we putting a 20% increase on the table, we have profit sharing. So when the company does well, everyone does well. And for the last several years, that's resulted in record profit sharing for our represented employees. And I think you have to look at the whole compensation package, not only 20% increase in gross wage, but also the profit sharing aspect of it, world-class healthcare, and there's several
world-class healthcare.
So
how dare you?
We have a very competitive offer on the table, and that's why we want to get back there and get this done. But if you're getting a 34% pay increase over 4 years and you're offering 20% to employees right now, do you think that's fair? Well, I think when you look at the overall structure and the fact that 92% is based on performance, and you look at what we've been doing of sharing in the profitability when the company does well, I think we've got a very compelling offer on the table, and that's the focus I have right now.
She doesn't answer the question. There's no answer to this question. This is why they never want to get to this point, because they know this is a public relations nightmare. There is no position that an owner could have against a worker that's going to get the vast majority of people to be on their side. That's just not the case, especially when the vast majority of workers are living paycheck to paycheck, where they can relate with saying, what the fuck are you talking about, owner? That's not enough. You know what I'm saying? That's not enough. A 20%, that's not enough. Especially over 4 years. It's not like immediate. So with this capitalist system, I mean, who knows where inflation is going to be in 4 years? We went up to 8 or 9%, I think. It could have been higher, that I just will stop paying attention in 1 year. So why couldn't it go up 20% in 4 years? It's laughable. And the thing is, that's what they do. They'll allow these wages to get increased. And then what they do is do these things where they try to suppress wages. The fair share is in on it. So, but anyway, I think that's my final word on this topic. It's an important topic. And I'm going to cover some more of this when I cover Bernie Sanders' rally. So I'll put that later, since I've already been talking about this subject for a good chunk of the show already. So I'll put that later in the segment. Who is that? Let's do, I just got another super chat. Let's throw this one up here. Thank everybody for the super chats. Now my computer's a little delayed. Let me see if it's up there yet. Is it? There we go. All right, so you're dropping it hardcore, CJ. Thank you from Bakersfield. Bakersfield out here in Cali. That's inland, going inland, not by the water. So shout out to Super Seamstress Sewing Show, a regular. Thank you for the super chat. Another super chat. Oops. Did I click yet? Every plant needs to strike. Don't worry, running out of money. We will support them far as long as they need to. Someone start the strike fund so we can all contribute. Tina Love, thank you for the super chat. And I agree, and that was my sentiment in my previous segment on the UAW when I was kind of feeling the vibe of that UAW worker, the former candidate for president, UAW president. I think his name is Lehman. His last name is Lehman. But, you know, I was trying to be a little more positive today and trying to look at it and trying to glean some sort of understanding with the strategy. But I get your feeling there, Tina, and thank you for that. Tina Love, it just makes me want to sing Firm Biz. What Tina Marie, for those that don't know. All right, here it goes. Someone start a strike fund. I believe it's in the works. I have to look it up now. It's not. It was just something brief when I was just scrolling. I believe I saw a strike fund. I would have to research it, so don't run with what I'm saying. That one is already there, but I believe at least somebody's asking about creating one. So let's say that. All right, so let's get to the next segment. And we're going to do two very short segments, maybe 5 minutes, 2 5-minute segments. Then we get to the main story, which is also not that long, because these are just ideas that I feel like as the left, what I'm trying to do, transition the show to do, is to report on news, current events, but also talk about forward sort of thinking topics before the left or before any of us have workers. I should start saying workers instead of left. Before workers that are talking about it, to kind of start talking about it first or get it going. Let me refresh our data points and get an update on our likes before we get into the next few segments here. We have a good amount of people watching on this Sunday afternoon. 212 likes. We've had 962 people bounce their way through here at some point. So thank you for all the people that has been here on this Sunday afternoon. Hopefully you're enjoying it somewhere, lounging. Hopefully, if you're at work listening, solidarity to you. There's our Substack for those that if you're not on our Substack, this is how you are get sent notifications when we go live. You can get on that. It's sort of a mailing list, but it's, I guess you can say, a digital emailing list. We'll email you when we go live. We also send you clips, and you can watch it directly in the email when we send you those. So if you join our Substack. The other thing is we have our website. Make sure you check out our website. And there's one huge addition to our website. Our merchandise is finally here. And I'm going to show you where it's at so you can go check out the stuff we have here. Here is the website, the merchandise link. Let me copy the link. The merchandise link right here in the far right. You would just click that, and it takes you to our account. And I'll pull that up in the main screen here. You can see some of our art because I'm buying some of this myself. This, like, it looks great. Some of this stuff. I'll kind of go through some of the stuff. So if you can't see this, maybe let me blow this up so you can really see the lettering on some of this. It's fantastic. So of course we have the regular. Maybe I'll take it down so I can show a little more in one setting. There we go. Show 3. So you can see like the signature mug with our logo, the completely unserious. You have that clown, the abolish police. I'm kind of giddy about this. You can get gift cards too. This is a pretty cool thing. So when you click on it, it takes you to this link here where you can check out the store. We have our abolish. I think that's abolish police too. Yeah, those are pictures of police. This one says vote blue no matter who is for morons. I think somebody suggested that we change that to dummies. Vote blue no matter who is for dummies. And I think we will make that change. And of course, we got the ACAB cup. Some more mugs. Lesser of two evils is what got us here. The lesser of two evils of what's got us here. This one says post-duopoly voter. Republicans and Democrats can kiss my ass. That's what that mug says. Now, the designs are the same. It's just now we can, and then we have this NATO one. NATO is a terrorist organization. That's the NATO mug. We got the class warfare is needed mug. And then the same sort of designs, I guess you would say, it just put on different items. So now we went through the mugs. You can get those same sort of items, so same sort of designs, I should say, on tote bags. Then there's different colors, and then there's shirts. So same sort of logos, not logos, but designs. Here's a nice one. And then when you click on it, let me show you how you can see the different colors. I think it's here. I'll click on it. So you'd have this here. Let me make this smaller so you can see it on the screen. Love that look. But you can also, where's the color? Okay, here it goes right here. Let's say you want it in green. So I would wear that one. I love that green color. Although I do have most of my clothes is gray, or I'm wearing a gray shirt today. gray or black or something like that. But I do love this green. That's the red. I guess that's red or burgundy, maybe. It's called Cardinal Red is what it's called. Cardinal Red. But I love the green. What's another item? I'll show you one more shirt I was thinking of getting. So again, the same graphics, they're just on shirts or sweaters. You can get them on. Here is the NATO one. Let's pull up the NATO sweater. NATO is a terrorist organization. You can get it in yellow. I think the yellow looks good against the blue, right? I think that's cool. You can see a close-up. Does that show on screen? Let me see if the pop-up shows on screen too. I'm looking at my playback. Yeah, it does. All right, so you can see the up close what it looks like. That's pretty cool. So yeah, check out our website. I was itching to show you guys all of our items that we had there. It just our web designer just got finished with us and had that up there. And I was excited to show all of you. So there you go. All right, so let's make sure we're hitting that like button. You can go on our website right now and check some of those merchandise out. Our web designer is my sister. I try to keep it professional. That's why I try to always refer to her as what she is. But she is my sister, so shout out to my sister. We call her Jess in the family because that's her middle name. Her first name is Ophelia, but shout out to Jess or Jessica, my sister, for doing the work, and also Erin. So when we do this fundraiser for Erin, so I sent the ideas to her, and she put them out on the. And she made the design, then she sent it to my sister. My sister's the one who put it. So it was a whole team thing to put some of this thing together. So it was great. All right, so let's get back to the show. Where am I? Here am I. Let's get to some of our other quicker stories so we can just kind of say and get through them. And one of them is the Brian Stelter. He's on with, I think, is it Ari Melbourne? I think his name, Ari Melbourne. But this is Brian. And the thing is, he tweets this out. This isn't anybody who clipped this. He tweets this out. And it's not going well for him. It's not going well for him in the comments, but let me put the right banner up for Aaron in the segments because these are important. So Brian Stelter, we must be, he said, I can't believe he says this, louder than the liars. This is what Brian Stelter said. So this is a really quick segment. We'll play the video, have some fun with this. This is the guy that was on CNN. This is the guy, I think his show was all about examining media, trying to so-called keep the media honest. So that was Brian Stelter. We must be louder than the liars. Let's listen to this nonsense from Brian. Where is it? Right here.
This is the challenge that every journalist in America is facing. Some might want to avoid it, might want to pretend it's not a problem, might want to pretend they figured it out, but it's an incredibly hard problem to solve. This torrent of lies directed at an institution that's trying to get to the truth. And all right, that's why we need this kind of coverage all the time to try to figure out the best path to being louder than the liars. That's our job. We are supposed to be louder than the liars.
Maybe let's listen to this again.
This is the challenge that every journalist in America is facing.
Yeah, let's listen to this
Some might want
again.
to avoid it, might want to pretend it's not a problem, might want to pretend they figured it out, but it's an incredibly hard problem to solve. This torrent of lies directed at an institution that's trying to get to the truth. And all right, that's why we need this kind of coverage all the time to try to figure out the best path to being louder than the liars. That's our job. We are supposed to be louder than the liars. This is the challenge.
All right, that's it. Oh, Brian. Let's go, Brian Stelter. I'm gonna put liar because it's just gonna bring up that same video, but I do want to look at this. So we're gonna go Brian Stelter. Let's go Brian Stelter. Who was that? Was it Brokaw? Damn, I can't remember his name. What's the guy's What's the Brokaw? What's Brokaw's first name? I think that famous clip with him with. I'm gonna look at the. What's that guy's name? What's that guy's name? All right. Hold on a second, everybody. Okay, let's see what they say here on this one. This is interesting. I remember this clip. This is them recovering Brian Stelter's exit at CNN.
All right, so breaking news this afternoon in the media world. Brian Stelter is out at CNN. The host leaving the network after his show Reliable Sources was canceled. So which did they cancel first? They cancel him? Or
I
they
think he
canceled
got
him?
canceled
You
first.
got him. He was
Yes.
canceled.
Mhm.
It's not, we canceled your show.
And you're
by the
out.
way,
No, I think-
you're the show.
Yeah. Although it's interesting because Reliable Sources was CNN's longest running show, celebrated its
did not know
30th
that.
anniversary in March.
Really?
Stelter had been hosting for the past 9 years.
Wow. Yeah, on Sunday, the final show airs on Sunday. Since Warner Brothers Discovery bosses took over, there has been a push to pull the channel back to the center and lose
Back
any
to the
traces
center.
of Jeff Zucker's liberal regime.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I've never thought he was interesting.
I've never heard any friend or anyone on no matter what anyone's political leanings. I've never heard anyone say, "I really like that guy." I think he really brings something interesting.
I don't think he says anything interesting. I think he seems like the kind of guy that sits around the newsroom and gets some elements and talks to everybody about what do you think, and then goes on and says the same thing the network thinks.
Yeah.
Which is probably why everything he says is predictable and liberal and all that. Look, you don't have to like some people left of center like Rachel Maddow, but she's interesting
and smart.
D-
Yes.
and smart. And you watch him, and there's nothing going on there.
Not good TV.
Exactly. So,
But we are right here, so we're glad you're with us.
Oh, that was lovely. That was lovely. That was lovely. All right, I just wanted to play that for the segment. All right, we'll move on. That's Brian Stelter. But here's my commentary. I forgot to add that part on this. It is just quite shocking how how they are just incapable of sort of self-reflection, just incapable of it. Yeah. Oh God, this is one of those clips. I remember this one too. Oh, it's just okay. It's not the video. I remember this one too. When this guy called him out to his face, I remember that. I think I covered it. I think I covered it. But anyway, that's enough. Let's move on from Brian and get to some more important stories, not just funny stories of Brian making a fool of himself. All right, so let's get to the next story. And the next story, that was MSNBC Meltdown. The next story, that's too long. I don't want to do the long ones yet. The next story is going to be Sean Penn. And this is a doozy. So this is Sean Penn basically being the warmonger. Like it's pretty bad. And I know a lot of you have already seen this clip, but we're going to refresh everybody's memory. And this is Sean Penn goes I think I'll do that because this kind of rhymes. Sean Penn goes unhinged. Yeah, it kind of rhymes. So let's do that instead of what I was thinking earlier. All right, so Sean Penn absolutely goes crazy with war propaganda on Face the Nation. I think he was on. Yeah, this is a clip from this morning. We've already covered a Face the Nation clip. Sean Fain, or a different Sean, was on from UAW. But this one, this is a doozy. And Aaron Monte, shout out to Aaron Monte. This is where I saw it first, and I saw the quote, and I was like, no way he said that. So let me zoom in so you can see Aaron Monte's tweet. And you see where he says there at the top, he says, this is a quote that Aaron wrote, only cowards fear World War III. This is a quote from brave military genius Sean Penn. And he has a new, so it says, here's Face the Nation. Let's go to their tweet and I'll read it. Sean Penn, co-director of Superpower, the new Paramount Plus documentary about the war in Ukraine, says the U.S. response to Russia's invasion has fallen. Quote, at some point, caution becomes cowardice. He tells Margaret Brennan, it's been to date a tragic mistake. Now, this is a classic case where Hollywood, or this is a perfect example, is a better way of saying it, where Hollywood comes in to do their part in the war propaganda for the empire, because the counteroffensive went terrible. Public support for the war is lopsided. It's in the negative now. So what are they going to do? Are they going to be democratic and go with the support the vast majority of people are saying? No, they'll just come in and bring Hollywood in to whitewash and to propagandize you into supporting what they want to do. And that's what they're doing here with this segment. It's pretty terrible. This guy, I can't tell if he's acting or he's just, and I'm using this phrase not to be offensive, nuts. He sounds nuts. So let's listen.
Actor and director Sean Penn is the co-director of a new documentary called Superpower. It's about President Zelensky and the war in Ukraine. Zelensky agreed to meet with Penn in person for the first time on camera on the same day Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Penn on Friday about his new film. In one of the clips, Andrei Yermak, one of the top advisors to President Zelensky, says to you, the U.S. position should be stronger if the United States and Joe Biden doesn't do something now. Essentially, he says America's over. That followed with a pretty robust financial investment by the United States, more than $50 billion, pledges of weapons. But from what I've heard you say, you think the United States isn't doing enough.
It is my absolute feeling that the caution
Does he know the shit that we've sent him? The ordering of tanks, the munition, the cluster munition, and then more recently, I think the jet fighters. I mean, there's so many terrible things that just recently has been sent. And it was another story that I'm not even going to get to, where Anthony Blinken is talking about this. He was questioned about this, I think, on State of the Union or one of the shows today. Like, this is insane. Our government is already unhinged with Ukraine, and then we have people saying you're soft on Ukraine, like this clown right here. Let's listen to Sean Penn.
With which the United States has pledged support, which seemed, in my reading of to be concerning. The likelihood is extremely low. And as one of our witnesses in the film says, are we going to let a gangster with nuclear weapons dictate the way we live?
We absolutely are not going to let Joe Biden dictate how we live, sir. Thank you, Sean Penn. You're obviously talking about Joe Biden, right, Sean Penny? Let's go back a little bit and let's see. Let's hear him say. You tell me he's not describing Joe Biden.
And as one of our witnesses in the film says, are we going to let a gangster with nuclear weapons dictate the way we live?
A gangster with nuclear weapons dictate the way we live. That sounds spot on at Joe Biden.
So I think that the Ukrainians won't let him do that.
In the documentary, you spoke with a Ukrainian fighter pilot named Juice, who I understand was killed later in a training incident. Was your personal connection to him and the case he made to you part of why you are pushing this point on F-16?
This is pretty disgusting here. Do you see this propaganda? I wasn't expecting to examine it this way, but seeing it again, watching this again, I'm just seeing it through a different light. This is pretty disgusting what they're doing here. Connecting the life of somebody who obviously they're referring to somebody who has died in the war and saying, is that why you want to push to escalate this war? That's basically what she's asking. That is pretty disgusting right there. So you see the pairing of Hollywood willing to do the bidding of war propagandists and media, corporate media, willing to push the envelope for their weapons manufacturer sponsors and donors. This is insane. Why aren't we trying to save lives, Sean Penn? Why do you want to turn this up? Isn't 50 billion? We already sent them 100 billion. Why isn't 100 billion already not enough when this is not even our war? Why isn't that the position of our media?
16 so strongly?
I was pushing it when I was with Juice and he was alive. He dreamt of flying F-16s. I think that he was a man who was born into a time where he had to do this extreme thing, and he did it with poise and skill and focus and compassion. And so he had come to Washington to lobby for the F-16s and also was buying helmets for his helicopter pilot friends on eBay here to bring back. So it was like that. And then I suppose now, was it July that it was announced that there would now be an F-16 program, those resources?
Eventually, yeah.
Oh my God, you hear her? You hear her? Eventually. The unhinged nature, just march towards war and killing and death is just crazy, shocking.
And a couple of weeks later, I got the message that he'd been killed. I think not only would Juice be alive today, if we
Oh
had been
my
as bold
God. Oh
as we
my
like to claim
God.
to be.
He's acting now. He's acting now. He's doing his role. Was he nominated for the role with Susan Sarandon movie, Dead Man Walking? That's literally one of my favorite movies. Dead Man Walking. Malcolm X was by Spike Lee. Spike Lee is my favorite all time, but that's Dead Man Walking, Susan Sarandon, Sean Penn. Great acting in that movie. Both of them. I think she won an Oscar for that, and maybe he was nominated. I can't remember. But anyway, the point being, he's doing that level acting right here. And if you don't know the movie, Dead Man Walking he was a convicted murderer, and he was on death row, and he had the death penalty, and that's what they call people on death row with the death penalty. You're dead because you're going to be killed. So you're a dead man walking when you're walking to your execution. Dead man walking. That's what the jail workers call out. That's bringing you to your execution, and it shows what it's like. That person who he gets the opportunity to see his family for the last time in that session, his kids. It's a very emotionally taxing sort of scene and movie, but this he's bringing that level of acting. I'm telling you, it's very good acting. He's bringing it back for this, because this is pretty disgusting what he's doing here, and she's willing to participate in it. But let's listen to the rest of this here.
A couple of weeks later, I got the message that he'd been killed. I think not only would Juice be alive today if we had been as bold as we like to claim to be historically as a country, with our principles, with our Republicans and our Democrats, with our leadership. The citizenry too, while we were putting all those Ukrainian flags out, we should have been demand decisiveness in this case, because at some point, caution becomes cowardice.
Wow. At some point, caution becomes cowardice. This guy, man.
There's still an opportunity for us to do the right thing.
58% of Americans polled by CBS disapprove.
This is why he's here. This is what he's to combat. She's telling you the number of people is like, it's not close. It's close to 60%, 6 out of 10 people. And that's probably the generous poll where they know where to go to poll people to get the best results. If they just poll everybody's poll, is probably a lot higher than that. But do you think they're going to stop? No. What they have to do is now convince you even more. And that's what they're doing with this propaganda documentary by Sean Penn. Let me rewind it back and ask this question again.
Republicans and our Democrats, with our leadership, the citizenry too, while we were putting all those Ukrainian flags out, we should have been demand decisiveness in this case, because at some point, caution becomes cowardice.
Oh my God.
There's still an opportunity for us to do the right thing.
58% of Americans polled by CBS disapprove of the way Joe Biden is handling the situation with Russia and Ukraine. And I'm getting the sense from you, you're disappointed too.
Yeah, I respect President Biden very much.
These motherfuckers trying to spin that disapproval is that he's not doing enough. Are you guys trying to spin this? You know damn well, Brennan, I think that's her last name, that they're saying they think he shouldn't be sending more funding to Ukraine. You know damn well that's what that poll is referring to. But now we're trying to make it vague, like he should be doing more. It's
much. There have been a couple of things that I think have been disasters up to this point.
This is next level propaganda. It's not quite Morning Joe, but this is not normal face-to-face propaganda. they took it up a notch for this segment.
And it should be an implicit understanding between private citizens and leaders in government that, you know, there are things that I don't know about, things that need to remain classified.
Right.
So every day, even when I was with Juice, I was privately thinking, yes, it's our job to fight this fight. But privately, I was thinking, but maybe they're doing it behind closed doors. And tomorrow we're going to wake up to that squadron. Enough time has passed. I think it's been to date a tragic mistake. And I hope and encourage.
Why are people like this? Why are corporate media platforming people who don't have any sort of expertise by even your own standards? How is he even talking about this stuff? Why does he get a slot on Face the Nation to talk about war as if he is an expert? Why is that the case? They do the same thing with Bill Gates. Why is Bill Gates talking about COVID? Why is he here? It's so very weird. And people just eat that shit up and let it go. But it's ridiculous. All right, so I'll let it play maybe another minute and then I'll cut this here.
This president, that he deserves the legacy of doing this properly.
Polling also shows big majorities of Americans continue to support economic sanctions on Russia. 61% of Republicans, though, say the U.S. should not send weapons to Ukraine. 50% say the U.S. should not send aid and supplies to Ukraine. That is a big shift from where the Republican Party was in terms of, in the past, being very strong on Russia. But some of it, in terms of the rhetoric, reflects this sense that America needs to fix itself at home. How do you respond to that thinking?
I think there's more than a compelling argument that would change those minds. And I understand why they're confused. I mean, I'm hoping in its little way that...
So they're confused, not that they have a different, better than opinion than yours. They're just confused.
That this film can help context.
This film can help change your mind, propagandize you. These motherfuckers, man. No shame at all.
I would be confused if I hadn't had the opportunity to do this.
Better communication of the why and the justification for the billions of dollars of American
if the
spending.
current leadership would just do one thing now, it would be the president saying to his cabinet, we are...
So Sean Penn is saying that him doing the documentary and interviewing a bunch of people who's not currently fighting the war or doesn't have the superior authority over anybody in the war, he knows more than Joe Biden, the people that's pulling that has the puppet strings of Zelensky that's controlling all this. That's what he's thinking? That's what he's trying to say? Like I said, why are they allowing this even to be on TV?
Not spinning the story on Ukraine anymore. So if it's about what are they capable of, we're going to let our commanders in Fresno at the Cal National Guard that's been doing joint military exercises with them for 30 years tell us what their capability is. And we're going to say it unfiltered to the American people.
You end the documentary talking about this feeling of unity you had when you were in Ukraine, and you compare it to what you see here at home. And you actually end on the images of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman, and Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. And you say, we're going backwards. Why do you think they symbolize that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC, why do they symbolize going backwards? I would say it's because AOC is the one that's pro-Ukraine war, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is the one that's pretending not to be for the Ukraine war. 1 second. Okay, I'm here. That's my neighbors. I thought that was my daughters coming back. It's funny because my neighbor is the same thing. It's a husband and he has a bunch of girls, wife, and then 2 daughters. Oh, almost it's the identical. So it's funny. But anyway, back to what we was saying here, and this is, I can't say how shocking this is to me that they are doing this. It's because it feels like this is so out in the open, so like in your face propaganda. They're desperate. So let's listen to the numbers again. Actually, no, I'm not gonna go that far. Let's finish this out. I'm so ready to get done with this unhinged maniac right here.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman.
That's what we were talking
and
about.
Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. And you say, we're going backwards. Why do you think they symbolize that?
I think that we've come to a point where we as the voters, we as the citizens have to look at our politicians and say, look, you're very smart. We agree with your policy. Why would you want to call it socialist? Why would you want to put up a middle finger to people who have a reaction to that? You're a leader. Just get the policy across. I'm not interested in these people self-celebrating or grandstanding. Jerks like me do enough of that. Leaders can't
like what
do
you're
that.
doing now.
And so on the right, on the left, we have to demand that people actually are accountable.
I'm gonna end it here. Is it me, or does it? This whole interview, it felt like he was just about to cry, like he was on the edge of crying this entire interview. Listening to his voice, is it me? Can somebody say that? Am I crazy, or did it feel like he was literally on the doorstep of crying that entire interview? His voice was seemed or emotional or shaky, quivering or something. Thought it was bizarre. But anyway, let's move to the next segment. Now let's finally get to the other thumbnail topic. We covered that one. We covered that one. Okay, so now we'll cover the middle one, and that is this here. This is my tweet, and my tweet is getting 75% the reaction I thought it was going to get, with people saying, yeah, this is what they're going to do. And then a good 25% maybe completely misunderstood what I was saying and ran with it. And that's their loss. I don't care. I don't typically go out and try to explain to people who misunderstood me. I just go, fuck yeah. Hey, that's you misunderstanding is a you problem. That's not a me problem. So you want to run with it, then run with it. So, but this is the tweet that we'll be discussing for the main top, or this is the tweet that what's the right word? Generated the idea for this discussion that we're going to be having. This is the genesis of that. So, but first, let's do a couple of announcements. Become a Patreon member. We got, I think, 5 tiers, because each one of us has a tier named of us after us, I believe. So we have like 5 tiers. But I know there's a tier where you can make your own monthly payment amount you want. And I think $2 is the lowest. So $2 at minimum. If you wanted to be a Patreon member, if you are able to afford $2, then there you go. Great. You can become a member. The other thing is check out our website. I showed earlier some of our website updates, one of which is merchandise we have now. You can go check out our merchandise. I think there's 80 different things you can buy there, from tote bags to mugs to shirts to tanks to tees to long sleeve shirts to sweaters. So there's a lot of different things on there, and we're working on buttons. There's the website right there, so you can check the website out. And previous to that, I had the Substack up, and join our Substack for it, so you know when we go live. The post-duopoly show, somebody in the comments asked, we're going to do it Tuesday. So this past Monday, we're going to do it, but Keaton's kid was became sick, was in a hospital, whole thing. So we postponed it, and we tried to rework it this Monday, but it ended up being this Tuesday. So not tomorrow, but day after tomorrow, we will be coming back with the post-duopoly show. And then before I get into this next topic, let me check the numbers to our analytics and see oh shoot. Almost freaking felt like I almost broke my finger. The hell? We're at 322 likes, so we've hit our previous target. Thank you everybody who made that happen. We have had over 500 people watching. We got up to 530 people watching, so I know we can get our likes up. So the next target is 475. So hit that like button, get us a 475, and I will be much appreciated. All right, so this is the tweet I want to discuss to kind of jumpstart a conversation, and this is going to be interactive. So I'll ask some questions, and maybe some of you may have some answers, or have some questions and some answers that are good. New member, welcome, Louise Brooks. Thank you for becoming a new member. Welcome to the RBN community on YouTube. And for those that didn't know, we do have memberships, $3.99, I believe. Yeah, $3.99 on YouTube, and it gives you a couple of perks. Makes you stand out as a member in the chat. You can check out the join button, or hit the join button on our YouTube page in order to check that out. All right, now let's get to this story here. Do I have the banner made for this already? Let me see. Brian, no. So let's make it. Mainstream media will use Russell, let's use his full name. This could be somebody. Russell Brand's news. Again, let's cut to the chase. Against, I said it softly earlier. Against Cornell West. Now, so let's get to this topic. Mainstream media. Shoot, I said it twice. I don't need the media part if I say the abbreviation. All right, so let's start here. So, Aaron, we can start here. Mainstream media will use Russell Brand's news against Cornell West, and that's the news, the sexual allegation news and RAPE news. I'm not going to say the word because YouTube sometimes get crazy with that word. But this was what I thought. So I've been reflecting more and more, just thinking about different aspects of what's happening with Russell Brand. If you haven't seen my coverage of the actual story, check out the video I made yesterday. But I put this tweet out, and I'll read the tweet. It says, the Russell Brand news reflects on the Cornell West. Now, I'm spelling Cornell correctly, but the autocorrect keeps sometimes going and fixes it, and I don't catch that it fixes it. So I know how to spell his name is with one L. Just wanted to say that. The Russell Brand news reflects on the Cornell West campaign. Also, he announced with Russell, if this is an establishment smear, they're killing two birds with one stone. So some people read this, and it's maybe 25%, the vast minority, read this and was thought that I was saying that that I'm saying it is connected. That is me saying it's connected. I'm just simply pointing out we need to prepare for the powers that be to come after, or we'll use this. That's a better way. It will use this news about Russell Brand in an interview with Cornell West, and that's all I'm saying. So, say for instance, he comes back on Anderson Cooper. Now, understand they don't like Russell Brand on the same level as they don't like a Joe Rogan, specifically because of the pandemic stuff and corona stuff. So, hey, Cornell West, how you doing? They talk about his policy, blah, 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 spoiler, and all the normal thing. Hey, so let's talk about your campaign. You launched on Russell Brand's channel and blah, 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 blah. Have you heard? But he's been recently caught with these allegations and blah, blah, blah. What do you think? You see, that's the point that I'm making. Not that, because they can't, do anybody think Cornell West knew about this stuff? Absolutely not. He didn't know about it. Why would he do that? But it was always curious to me why he picked, and we had this discussion. I believe we did a stream. The stream wasn't specifically about this, but it was included in the conversation. It was like, why is he launching on Russell Brand? Why? It just didn't seem like a natural fit. Launching on Russell Brand, it didn't seem like a natural fit for his campaign to launch on his network. It didn't seem that way. Especially with the way Cornell West came off in the interview with Jimmy about COVID and the way that Russell Brand is very on top of COVID. You get what I'm saying? Like it wasn't a normal selection. So I always thought that was weird. And now that I look back on it, I wonder if this was a Nick Brana suggestion that he goes on a Russell Brand. Because I see People's Party as a more natural aligning with Russell Brand, and since he launched with the People's Party, I'm wondering if that is how that came about. Because he was, People's Party, you're thinking they're basically libertarians, they're more libertarian to me. Like Nick Brana is more libertarian than the Democrat to me. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So this is something we need to prepare for. This is something that the campaign, I hope, is preparing for. Because this is didn't Nick and I just talk about how this is what the professional managerial class does. They don't connect or give reasoning. They just bring up something and then just give a look or just go, That's all they do. Cornell West, Russell Brand has just been accused of rape. Looking and they'll play all this stuff, right? They'll play on this and play the actress reading the stuff, and then they'll come back. Cornell, you launched on Russell Brand's show. What do you have to say? What is your reaction to the allegations? You see how now it's not necessarily them saying, you look what you did, bad thing, them bringing it up in the context of his campaign, just anybody hearing that, whoa, wow, you launched on that? And these allegations, wow, I don't know. I don't know about Cornell West campaign now. That's what they're trying to do. That's what they're going to be trying to do with connecting Cornell West, or attempting to connect Cornell West in that way. They're not going to at all directly say, you knew this. They're not going to at all say anything like that. They're just kind of act like they're just nonchalantly bringing it up separately because, we're only bringing it up because you launched on it. But it's the story is being, or the campaign will be tainted by the story. And that's what propagandists do. It's sort of like guilt by association. And that's what they're going to try to do with Cornell West. That's a better way. I said all of that when I should have just said guilt by association. And that's what they're going to try to attempt to do. But I'm curious to see what do some of you think? So I'm going to go to comments right now. I'm going to start at the bottom. Actually, I got a super chat, so maybe that has to do with it. I'm curious to know what all of you think of this, or your take on it, even if you're not commenting necessarily, whatever your take on. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be any sort of blowback, any sort of blowback to the Cornell West campaign because of the Russell Brand news due to him launching on the Russell Brand's channel? Does anyone think that's the case? I'm going to read some super chats, and then for those that answered that question in the comments, I'll also put up. Here's one. I just ordered my first RBN shirt. Wow. Thank you so much, Aisha. Or is it Aisha? I think that's Aisha Lynn. I just ordered my first RBN shirt. Excited AF. Thank you for all you do, RBN. Also, U.S. corporations are a pyramid scheme. F the empire. That is true. That is true. When people say, I'm not down with pyramid scheme. Really? Do you have a job? Do you have a job? Yeah, then you're down for pyramid schemes, ma'am, and sir, or person. But yeah, let's go to some of your comments now about the topic. Will the Cornell West campaign have any blowback about the news with Russell Brand? Let's go to some of your comments. Let's see if any of you. Where did I see one? Let's see. I think the entire system is rotten to the core, that Cornell West isn't going to register much. Okay. So it's not going to be that big, that much of making that much news. Got it. They will only go after West if he starts going hard at Biden. And so are you saying you don't think he's going to go hard at Biden? Because when it gets close and he's polling, you know what I mean? When it's August, just put a year from now, September, a few months before the election, September 2024, Cornell West is still in it. It's tied, or even it's up. It's likely to be up if Joe Biden is still up. It's this polling is showing Donald Trump 47%, Joe Biden 45%. Cornell West is polling at 3%. Oh, they're going to be pulling out all stops to cut his legs out. Absolutely, they will go at him over something like this. And I'm saying I'm saying the Cornell West campaign, not we. The Cornell West campaign needs to be prepared for that. Okay, so you think the Peter Dow thing is going to get, this is just not, it hasn't been a good couple of weeks for the campaign. Let's see, any other comments on, let's see. I might help, maybe you mean it might help others to notice Dr. West more, meaning just by bringing it up will bring light to the campaign. Okay. I like that. It's not on topic, but I like that. Working class people stick together. And then let's go down here. Okay, I'll put this up. Even though it starts out with this line, let's put it up and let's examine it. It's from Facebook. Cornell West is a moron. He doesn't seem to grasp how this country works. People like him seem to want to give away all the gains made from the New Deal until the Voting Rights Act. Yeah, let's make sure the Republicans take more. I'm trying to grasp what I didn't necessarily grasp specifically what you're referring to even have a reply to that. So let's move to the next one. They will use everything they need to destroy West if and when they need to. Right now, they have other concerns. So kind of speaking to the previous comment of somebody talking about it. I think that's a good amount of comments to get. And what I do want to do now is go back to this here. And what was I going to show here? Oh, now this is probably a different segment. Katie Hopkins defends Russell Brand. Jordan Peterson tweets out that same article and makes a comment. Yeah, I think I'm gonna save, because this is kind of a separate topic. I had put it in the same. I put it in the same bookmark, but that's a completely different topic. But what I do want to do is kind of go over some of the latest news, latest opinions on what's happening with Russell to include here before we close out this segment. This is, it says political, and this person, I don't know this person, I'm just reading if there's any updates. The RAPE allegations against Russell Brand seem awfully similar to the RAPE allegations against Julian Assange. As the establishment dismisses allegations against Biden and their ilk, yet routinely uses sex smears to attack truth tellers, remain skeptical. And that's what my perspective is, remain skeptical, because I'm not saying I don't know enough about the allegations yet. I don't think none of us do. So just remain skeptical. It says, shocking, a woman says she was contacted by a journalist to discuss an alleged sexual assault by Russell Brand. However, because she provided positive feedback about him, the mainstream media did not include her in a sensational documentary. Let's listen to what this young lady has to say here in this clip. Let's listen.
I actually know who this is about, and I have the receipts. I was contacted in June by a journalist regarding a video I made about a certain celebrity and a weekend that we shared together. The video is kind of viral. It's on my page somewhere if you want to go see it. And that certain somebody was, as most of you will be aware, Mr. Brand. They weren't going to use my story because it didn't fit the narrative for their documentary, because he wasn't an asshole to me. But here are some of the messages. Obviously, I will take out the person's name and stuff. We had a phone call. She contacted me for more information, and I didn't contact her back because I kind of felt like it would be mean. Anyway, there you go. Put your bets on. It's a documentary about the one and only Mr. Russell Brand. And just a fun fact. Astrology-wise, the lunar nodes of destiny have shifted into Aries right on top of his Mars and Moon. Written in the stars, baby.
I had the wrong banner up the whole time, but I have the right one up now. I'm going to play that again. For some of us who finds it hard to hear, some accents is hard, and sometimes English accents are hard. So I'm going to play again just for those who didn't quite understand or may need another listen through because of her accent. So let's listen again.
I actually know who this is about, and I have the receipts. I was contacted in June by a journalist regarding a video I made about a certain celebrity and a weekend that we shared together. The video is kind of viral. It's on my page somewhere if you want to go see it. And that certain somebody was, as most of you will be aware, Mr. Brand. They weren't going to use my story because it didn't fit the narrative for their documentary, because he wasn't an asshole to me. But here are some of the messages. Obviously, I will take out the person's name and stuff. We had a phone call. She contacted me for more information, and I didn't contact her back because I kind of felt like it would be mean. Anyway, there you go.
Okay. Let's see what else we can find here that would be useful for this segment. Yeah. It's shocking. Let's see this one. This is how the establishment media is covering Russell Brand. It only allows for a single driven narrative without even so much as a voice of dissension. He's declared guilty without a trial. Tell me there isn't a media conspiracy to take him down. This will be the last video before we close out here. Actually, George Galloway posted something. I wonder if I'll have to see what George posts. Let's see. Oh, there's no sound to this. They're just showing the news clippings. So no sound to this. They're just showing there. It looks like they're at a newsstand and they're showing all of the headlines of Russell Brand, and the headlines are very explosive. Let's use that word. Very explosive. All right. So it loops there. All right. So I think that can be it. Okay. Let me see. Let me see what George says here in the beginning, and then we can stop it here. Let me see what George says.
Captain in Casablanca, I was shocked to discover, thanks to the expenditure of millions of pounds by Rupert Murdoch's Sunday Times and the British state-owned Channel 4, and thousands of investigative journalistic hours, that Russell Brand was a rapacious, misogynistic sex addict. Not just a sex addict, but a heroin addict and an alcohol addict, and addicted also to himself. And his self-obsessive narcissism is a significant part of this story. But I was shocked, weren't you, that a man who told us many hundreds of times in public, on the stage, on television, and in books, had a shocking attitude to women and to sex. Mind you, it didn't stop a large number of women. He says more than 1,000 women. And who am I to doubt him? Going into his bedroom for what I assumed was not a putative game of Scrabble or Tiddlywinks or, I don't know, gin rummy. Presumably.
Okay, George he's very colorful, but that being colorful, it makes him long-winded sometimes. So, but you get the gist of what he's saying. He's essentially saying he's already come out and said he's been a sex addict and all this, and had a sexcapades and talked about all of his sexcapades before. And I think we can cut it there. All of what's happening, though, there's no way that there's not going to be any sort of bleed over into the Cornell West campaign. There's no way no one's going to at least ask him about it. And I hope he has a better answer than he had about Nick Brana. If everybody remember the response? It wasn't that great. So I'm hoping he has a better response if he's asked about it on mainstream media. And I just think that he will be asked about it. All right, so let's go to another quick one because it's just my tweet. This is another tweet that I would like. It's sparking a conversation I would like to have. So if you follow me on Twitter and you see me tweeting articles, typically that's what I'm going to be talking about that day. It's a very high likelihood I'll be covering it that day. So just to give you a kind of a heads up of how I operate with the topics here. And I'm going to be winding down soon because I have a feeling my wife and my daughters will be home soon. And they're kind of animated. I think I'm hearing them now. Am I? We're at 400 likes and the target is 475. So we need 475 more to get to target. Technically, it's 394. 399 is where we're at. 393, my bad, is where we're at. We've had over 1,500 people bounce their way and watch the stream, join us for the stream at some point. So thank you for everybody that has joined at some point. Concurrently, the peak we've been at is 560. That's the concurrent, meaning all at one time, not over the life of the stream. So let's get into this next topic, which is the squad topic. Let me make sure I get the right banner, but it's quite telling what's happening with the Freedom Caucus. This is Freedom Caucus versus Squad. Freedom Caucus making Squad look weak. And because what's happening with impeachment, that's forced by the Freedom Caucus. With Joe Biden, that's forced by the Freedom Caucus. Yeah. So Freedom Caucus making Squad look weak. And before we get into that, let me do another shout out here. Here's our email. I don't think I put that up earlier. If you needed to contact us, here's our email. Become a Patreon member for as little as $2 a month. You can be a Patreon member, and being a Patreon member also helps us to pay Aaron. Aaron does our graphics and all of our editing for us, the t-shirts, all of our merchandise stuff. Aaron put that together. So, of course, we have a fundraiser for her every month to raise adequate funds to make sure she's getting the right pay, the pay that she asked for. So here is the fundraiser, the GoFundMe. You can check it out and donate $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever you like. And thank you for that. Now let's get to this story right here. And we can start here, Aaron. Freedom Caucus is actually making the squad look weak. And let's start here with this tweet that I put out here. Man, the Freedom Caucus and Matt Gaetz are really causing problems for Kevin McCarthy. Because he can be voted out by a single member, he's bending over backwards to please the Freedom Caucus. Imagine if this was the squad doing the same thing to Nancy Pelosi. That was called force the vote. Because if you hadn't heard, Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz have been really kind of going at it. The reporting from all over cable news is that Kevin McCarthy is weak, and he's being shown weak because he has to kowtow. He has to pander to the small people. Just imagine if all of this was in reverse and it was Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi Fox News is saying this. Nancy Pelosi is having to pander to these crazy left radicals. They got her bringing up votes on defund the police. They want her to bring up votes on, cutting the military budget in half. Why aren't we hearing this? Isn't that what the whole idea of the squad was about? That's what I thought the squad was about. But for some reason, Freedom Caucus is doing it, and they're extracting things that we don't necessarily want. But you see what could have been done in the reverse. So I'm meshing this one with another topic, which is the Matt Gaetz, because it's part of the receipts for the topic of how you should be going at your leader. We're going to go ahead and pivot to Matt Gaetz. But let me see. Let me start with a shorter video first. These are two long ones. So here's Matt Gaetz going on mainstream media. Now, replace Matt Gaetz with AOC and replace Kevin McCarthy with Speaker Pelosi for this conversation, for this short clip. It's less than a minute.
Speaker, he seems to be implying that you are not doing these things for the reasons you say, but that you were requesting, or perhaps through other people requesting, some special handling or treatment in the ethics complaint. You're saying that's a lie tonight.
That is an abject lie from a sad and pathetic man who lies to hold on to power. He lied to get power in January when he made this agreement.
Imagine AOC. That is a sad and pathetic lie. I forget, what was the phrasing he used about? He said something, oh man. Something, oh man. Let me see his phrasing.
To get power in January when he made to hold on to power.
Oh man, I guess I got to go way back.
Abject lie from a sad and pathetic man who...
From a sad and pathetic woman. This could be AOC, or this should be AOC, the way she should be speaking and having an interview about the conflict she's having with the speaker if they force to vote the way they should.
Lies to hold on to power. He lied to get power in January when he made this agreement, and he's lying now about the basis for breach. And you know what? Eventually, the lying has to come to an end, and the votes are going to start on a motion to vacate. I certainly hope that instead of that path, the speaker comes into compliance on term limits, balanced budgets, and...
You see that? You see how, what I like about what they did is they have markers. Oh, you're not meeting his markers, sir. it's time for us to start talking about bringing up this vote. Why can't we get people who are for good policy who have this burn the barnyard strategy? That's what we want. That's what the movement needs. Why can't we get that on the left? Instead, we get weak milquetoast people like Bernie Sanders and AOC and all of the rest of the squad. Let me put this up here. Gaetz versus Kevin, the speaker. Good one. All right, so let's continue with another clip. And this is more discussion. Now we're kind of mixing the segment with Matt Gaetz versus Kevin McCarthy with with Matt Gaetz in the Freedom Caucus making the squad look like weak morons. And that's the first clip. Here is, I want to do the short ones first. So here's another shorter one. This is 2 minutes. Let's listen to this one. And this is from May. Let's just listen. She's a Republican. They're putting her on the spot and they're asking her about how Matt Gaetz is putting the screws to Kevin McCarthy. Let's listen.
So you've seen Matt Gaetz come out, not just Matt Gaetz, but he most loudly and prominently saying that he's going to push to oust McCarthy, motion to vacate. Could you see yourself under any circumstances supporting a motion to vacate?
It hasn't happened yet, and I'm not going to, comment on conjecture here. Either he's going to file it or he's not. If he's going to do it, put his money where his mouth is. I do hear that some votes might be up for grabs because people were made promises that have not been kept.
What about your vote? Is it up for grabs? Could you?
We'll see how it turns out, but I will tell you, I'm one of those members who were made certain promises. I've worked on women's issues. I've worked on issues, related to gun violence I feel are very important. And, it's fallen on deaf ears. And if I give a handshake to someone, I expect them to follow through with it.
Wow. So you don't rule out supporting that, do you think?
I might, you know what? Everything's on the table at this point for me because I want to do the right thing for the American people. I want to do the right thing for women. I'm trying to show here's a path forward for women post-Roe, for birth control, for women who are rape survivors, et cetera. My district is no stranger to gun violence, to mass shootings. There are things that we can do to keep our communities safe and follow the Constitution at the same time. We should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We ought to be able to work hard for the American people and show them that. And here we are facing a government shutdown. And really, what have we accomplished this year?
So do you think McCarthy's going to be Speaker of the House at the end?
He didn't hear none of that.
I do think he will continue to be Speaker, but I do think it's going to be a long rest of the year.
And shutdown, are you expecting one?
I am expecting a shutdown. But again, what most America doesn't know, the majority of the government will be operating, will be working. And I've talked to some federal employees that don't really mind it because they're going to get a vacation, they're going to get time off, but then they're going to get back pay. And so they're not really grumbling about a government shutdown. It's more than meets the eye.
Of course, there's uncertainty, though. I think that's what troubles a lot of government employees.
So, again, there's a lot of things we're kind of analyzing all at the same time. We're analyzing how this fight between Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz and Freedom Caucus and Matt Gaetz, while at the same time analyzing how if the squad had forced a vote, they would be in this exact position. The only difference is they will be trying to extract what we would call good things. You would be having Cori Bush on saying, yeah, I was promised some things too, like a vote on defund the police. And I'm not saying I'm in the camp. I'm just saying I was promised some things too by the speaker that hasn't happened. Imagine that if they forced a vote. Instead, we have the Freedom Caucus trying to, with these reactionary policies, but the strategy is effective. Let's continue with another clip here. I'm trying to keep this short because I know there's a lot of clips of him speaking and cussing them out a lot longer. Let's first do this clip down clip or slim down clip. This is 22 seconds of him talking about it.
I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role.
What? I would be having chills now if AOC was able to say that on the floor. Nancy Pelosi didn't bring Medicare for all to the floor. She didn't bring a defund the police bill to the floor. She didn't bring a bill to the floor that said cutting the military by $200 billion. She didn't bring a bill to the floor about not. She didn't bring none of these things. And then AOC would go on the floor. Speaker, I rise because you are not in compliance with what you agreed to. But we don't have that ability to do that because the squad is weak and timid.
I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. The path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion to vacate the chair. I rise today to serve notice.
What if this was AOC? I know it's
you
looping.
are out of compliance with the
You are
agreement
out of
that allowed you
compliance if
to
this was
assume
AOC
this role.
to
The
Mama
path
Bear.
forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate.
Thing is, he brought the impeachment inquiry. They don't think that's enough. Why can't we get militant people like this? He gives them something. And he's like, this ain't good enough, motherfucker. It's time for you to get going. Instead, we get people talking about some Mama Bear shit. Let's see if I got another one here. And here's this clown. Look at this. This is Jamal Bowman, the cowardice coon. Holy cow. All hell is breaking loose on the floor of the House. Matt Gaetz is threatening to launch a mutiny. Mutiny against Kevin McCarthy and oust him from power. To the Speaker of the House, this is what you created. You are the worst kind of coward, and now you reap what you sow. You see how they call, this is what democracy's supposed to look like. These reps are supposed to be doing it. These reps supposed to have the control over the speaker. But when you have that, you have simping, ruling class simping clowns like Jamal Bowman is pointing out the opposite. So let's see. This is a longer video of the one we were just watching. It's 22 seconds. So he says the first part that he said in the first 22-second video we just watched, and then he continues. Let's watch this video. It's a minute, 45 seconds.
On this very floor in January, the whole world witnessed a historic contest for House Speaker. I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement
if the squad
that
was able
allowed
to
you
say
to
this
assume
shit.
this role.
Fucking
the path
clowns. I'm going to be in the background. I'm still here talking,
either
but
bring
let's
you
put the
into
video on the big
immediate
screen.
Total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion. to
Remove
vacate
your
the chair.
ass.
We have had no vote on term limits or on balanced budgets as the agreement demanded and required. There's been no full release of the January 6 tapes. As we promised, there has been insufficient account.
Wow. Listen to the stuff he's... Now, imagine if AOC and the squad was able to do that. Hey, there has not been any vote on Medicare for all or single payer. Hey, there hasn't been no vote for cutting the military budget by $200 billion. None of that. So listen to the list that he says here. And Jamal Bowman posted this as if this is bad. Jamal Bowman posted this as if this is bad, when this is exactly what we should be requiring our reps to do, is this.
Today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. The path forward for the House of Representatives is to either bring you into immediate total compliance or remove you pursuant to a motion to vacate the chair. We have had no vote on term limits or on balanced budgets as the agreement demanded.
Term limits. They're demanding term limits. Now they're demanding balanced budget initiative. They're demanding that, but term limits. The Freedom Caucus is making the squad look like complete buffoons at this politics game.
Ended and required. There's been no full release of the January 6 tapes as you promised.
There's been no release of the January 6 tapes as you promised. This is how you're supposed to interact with your speaker. Like this. Not calling her mama bear and taking pictures with her on the cover of GQ. That's what you don't do. This is how you're supposed to treat the speaker. Let's continue and close out the stream.
There has been insufficient accountability for the Biden crime family, and instead of cutting spending to raise the debt limit, you relied on budgetary gimmicks and rescissions so that you ultimately ended up serving as the valet to underwrite Biden's debt and advance his spending agenda. Mr. Speaker, you boasted in January that we would use the power of the subpoena and the power of the purse. But here we are 8 months later, and we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. That's how you know that the rushed and somewhat rattled performance you just saw from the speaker isn't real. At this point, during Democrat control over the House of Representatives, they had already brought in Don Jr. 3 times. And we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. Power of the subpoena and power of the purse. Only thing the 118th Congress is known for at this point is electing Kevin McCarthy speaker and underwriting Biden's debt. And unfortunately, there's only one of those things we can remediate at this time. Power of the purse.
This is what a militant rep looks like. This is what people expected from the squad. But we're getting it from these right-wing clowns like Matt Gaetz. We have such a spineless group of people representing the so-called left in elected politics. So spineless. We can end there on that segment. Let me toss this one up here, and I'm going to bring myself back to the screen. So let's put myself back on the screen there. Oh, I like this one better. Let's read this super chat here. If the mainstream media and the security state have an enemy speaking against neoliberal capitalism and imperialism, then they will use the media to either cover up or smear their opponent. Thank you for that super chat. That was very well said. And that is from ARJ 1997. So I got through most of these. I do want to show you a funny one here. Let's show you a funny clip from The View. It's about 30 seconds. It's not meant to be comedy, but these people are clowns. So I'm gonna play this really quick. Maybe I won't have a banner because it's that quick. Let's just put the show banner up. Let's listen to The View, and it's really their guests. Listen to what they said, and you tell us, are we living, and you answer this question, are we living in a democracy? Listen to what he says.
When does it get far enough in the primary calendar for us to stop asking this stupid question?
We're just about almost now. I mean, we're really just about at the end of the line. And the bottom line is there is no opposition within the Democratic Party.
There is no opposition.
There may be opposition on the part of Democratic voters who want somebody else, but there is no opposition within the Democratic Party. You have Bobby Kennedy Jr. out there. That's not going anywhere. You have Marianne Williamson. You have no serious opposition. He's going to be the Democratic nominee, and Kamala Harris will be
and the Democrats will vote for him. When does it get...
You hear what they're saying? They're saying, you guys will do this. They're impatient. They're like, when is all this nonsense of not running Biden going to be over? Huh? How far can we get down the line so we can stop entertaining these ideas that we're not going to do? These ideas of democracy. They're offended. Like they're going to fall in line because they're going to do what we say. Now, listen closely. Let's break down the sentences the sentence by sentence.
When does it get far enough in the primary calendar for us to stop asking this stupid question?
We're just about.
It's stupid. You workers are stupid. All you people who don't want Joe Biden, the Dimension Joe, you're stupid, according to The View.
Almost now. I mean, we're really just about at the end of the line. And the bottom line is there is no opposition.
The bottom line is there is no opposition, people, American people.
Within the Democratic Party there may be opposition on the part of Democratic voters who want some.
Oh, there might be some people who want to vote for somebody, but who cares about them? The voters, they may want somebody, but come on, guys. I mean, they're just admitting more and more right out in the open. It is astonishing. Let's let it play out here.
There is no opposition within the Democratic Party there may be opposition on the part of Democratic voters who want somebody else, but there is no opposition within the Democratic Party. You have Bobby Kennedy Jr. out there. That's not going anywhere.
Good.
You have Marianne Williamson. You have no serious opposition.
Good.
He's going to be the Democrat.
And then Joy Behar, what? She has to chime in. Good. She has to chime in and give her her introspection through just saying good about Marianne Williamson and RFK not being considered serious candidates because you're putting the thumbs on the scale. Would they be considered serious candidates if you allow the primary process to actually go through? Just clownish shit. And you support this. I don't understand, I don't understand Democrats that support this. After hearing this, if you watch The View regularly, you're, vote blue no matter who Democrat, and they come on here and say, you're going to take what we give you and you're going to support it regardless? I'll be like, oh, really? Oh, really?
But there is no opposition within the Democratic Party. You have Bobby Kennedy Jr. out there. That's not going anywhere.
Good.
You have Marianne Williamson. You have no serious opposition.
Good.
He's going to be the Democratic nominee, and Kamala Harris will be.
And the Democrats will vote for him.
And you will vote for
When does it get far
him.
enough in the primary calendar for us to stop asking this stupid question?
And calling it stupid yet again, that is, I mean, what else do you expect from The View? The clowns or the clown show, I should say, over at The View. Now, there might be a story or two I might have to push off here. And let's talk about, I kind of talked about it already. Yeah, I brought it up already. And that is some people. Actually, no. Let's bring it up just very quickly here. Let me go to it. It's Tara Reade. Uh-oh. I think the family's back. Let me put you on mute here. All right, so yeah. All right, so I'll be getting off now. As you can hear, the family is back in the house. How was volleyball? She's doing better. Yeah. Oh, good. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna be getting out of here. The family's back, but that clip is one for the ages. Oh, let's see. This is Peter Dow, my first day on campaign trail, and let's listen to. Oh, it's a very short video. Oh no, it's 1 minute. Let's play. This is Peter Dow putting up something on Cornell West. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to be heading out, but I'm going to leave you with this video. This is Cornell West, I believe, speaking today at some rally today. I think this is at the picket line. I think. Let me see. Hang on a second. It says no. This is the fossil fuel protest that he's at. So let's listen. It's about 1 minute. Maybe I'll let it loop So I'll probably let it loop.
Judge. Strange fruit is the blues, that's catastrophe. The problem of our politicians, they think ecological catastrophe is just a problem because they have managerial mentality, something that they can get their hands around and come up with some incremental response as if we're not living on the edge of the cliff. This is catastrophe. This is the blues all the way down. But we all are blues men and blues women because the response of catastrophe is to never allow it to have the last word. We have solidarity in the face of catastrophe. Let us march together. Let us fight together. Let us laugh together. Let us dance together. Let us smile together. Let us cry together. From our indigenous people all across the country and the world, yes, we will not allow the organized greed to have the last word. Love supreme or love supreme. Judge. Strange fruit is the blues, that's catastrophe. The problem of our politicians, they think ecological catastrophe is just a problem because they have managerial mentality, something that they can get their hands around and come up with some incremental response as if we're not living on the edge of the cliff. This is catastrophe. This is the blues all the way down. But we all are blues men and blues women because the response of catastrophe is to never allow it to have the last word. We have solidarity in the face of catastrophe. Let us march together. Let us fight together. Let us laugh together. Let us dance together. Let us smile together. Let us cry together. From our indigenous people all across the country and the world, yes, we will not allow the organized greed to have the last word. Love supreme or love supreme.